Have you ever really thought about how a place gets its name? Sometimes it's a person, or maybe a mountain, or some big historical moment. But what about a country that has two official names, both of them ancient, both of them packed with meaning? Well, today we're going to unravel this incredible story of how one nation's identity was shaped by two completely different words.
And this is where our story really kicks off. Right in the very first article of the Constitution of India, you find this powerful and honestly kind of puzzling phrase, India, that is Bharat. Think about that for a second. It's not India, which is also called Bharat. It's a statement. It says these two names are one and the same, locked together.
So that's the big question for us today, right? Why two names? Where on earth did they come from? And what can they tell us about the subcontinent's incredible history? We're basically going to become historical detectives and trace the journey of both of these names to get the full picture.
Okay, first up, let's look at the name that literally grew from the inside out. This is the story of Bharat, a name that came from the people of the land and name they've used for thousands of years. So the roots of the name Bharat? Man, they run deep. I mean, we're talking way back in ancient texts. In the Rig Veda, we see the word Bharata for the first time. But it's talking about a powerful group of people. Then, over time, that name for a people starts to become the name for a place. In the epic Mahabharata, the term expands to Bhāratavarṣha, which literally means the country of the Bharatas. Now, it wasn't the only name floating around. You also had Jambudvīpa, or the island of the Jamun tree, which the great emperor Ashoka used to describe his empire.
And check this out. This is so important. Before there was one single name for the whole subcontinent, people were naming regions based on what they saw. One of the earliest names we know of is Sapta Sindhava, the land of the seven rivers. And you can see it on the map. It's clearly pointing to that northwest region that was fed by the Indus River system. It's just so logical.
As the idea of a single, unified landmass started to grow, the descriptions got bigger, more poetic. Just listen to this beautiful line from the Vishnu Purana. It gives this incredibly clear and simple definition of the land. It basically draws a frame around the entire subcontinent using its two most obvious natural borders. It's powerful, it's poetic, and, as we're about to see, it's unbelievably accurate.
And here it is. This is what's so mind-blowing. Here's a modern map, and that ancient description just fits it perfectly. The snowy mountains, that's unmistakably the Himalayas in the north. The ocean, well, that's surrounding the whole southern peninsula. This just goes to show you that ancient people had a really solid grasp of their geography. They knew their world. So, we've seen how people inside the subcontinent named their home. Now let's completely flip the script. We're going to look at the story of India, a name that came from the outside in, a name given by foreigners trying to make sense of this huge, faraway land.
The entire story, and I mean the entire story of the name India, starts with one thing, a single, powerful river, the Sindhu, which today we call the Indus. For anyone coming from the West, traders, travelers, armies, this river was the first massive landmark they hit. It became the reference point for everything that lay beyond it.
Okay, so how did Sindhu become India? It's like a giant game of telephone played across centuries and cultures. It's actually pretty cool. First, the ancient Persians, they tended to change the S sound to an H. So Sindhu became Hind. Then, along came the ancient Greeks. Their language didn't really have that H sound, so they just dropped it, calling the people the Indoi. From there, it got picked up by the Romans and Latin, and then eventually English, and voila, India.
And here's a super important point to remember. When the ancient Persians first said Hindu, they were just talking about geography. It simply meant the land and the people living near the Sindhu River. It had absolutely nothing to do with religion as we think of it today. That whole association came much, much later.
All right, so we've followed two totally different paths, haven't we? One name born from the inside, the other given from the outside. So for our final section, let's bring these two stories together and see how this all results in this amazing dual identity. This slide really just lays it all out nice and clear. On one side, you've got Bharat. It's the internal name, the one rooted in ancient culture, the one that describes the whole geographical space from the mountains to the sea. And on the other side, you've got India, the external name, the one given by outsiders, that started with a single river and traveled across the globe with traders and empires. And that brings us full circle, right back to that line we started with. When the Indian Constitution was written, they made a very deliberate choice. They didn't pick one name over the other. By saying India, that is Bharat,
They basically said, yes, we acknowledge both of these histories. They declare that the country the world knows as India is, and always has been, the ancient land of Bharat.
You know, this whole thing is such a powerful reminder that names are never just labels. They're like little time capsules, full of history and geography and identity. It kind of makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What amazing stories are hidden in the names of the places all around you?